Welcome to Shimba channel. Today, I want to talk about Japan's job-changing culture. Like many countries, Japan has its own way of thinking about career moves. But I wonder how similar it is where you live. Let me know in the comments later. I'd love to hear about it. For a long time, lifetime employment and seniority-based pay were considered the norm in Japan. But over the past few years, things have started to shift. Newer companies in particular are moving away from these old systems, and even long-established companies are gradually reviewing their structures. Because of this, changing jobs is seen much more positively than before. Many people now view it as a natural way to level up their career. Still, some older practices remain. So today I want to share 4 aspects that feel especially unique to Japan. People use resumes around the world, but in Japan, you are expected to include quite a lot of personal information. Most resumes follow a standardized format. Along with your name, you usually list your age, gender, full address, academic history, work history, and even attach a photo of yourself. Because of this format, companies can immediately see the applicant's age group and appearance before the interview. Applicants also prepare with that expectation. Each item has to be written very precisely. Your address needs to be written in full. And for academic or work history, it's common to start from high school and list exactly which school or company you belonged to, the month and year you joined, and the month and year you left. When I changed jobs, I also listed everything from high school up to my current position. Some companies no longer require photos, and when I applied for my current job, I submitted my resume with that one. How much personal information do resumes include in your country? Is it anything like Japan? Feel free to tell me in the comments. Another big characteristic of job changing in Japan is that age strongly affects evaluations. Because your resume lists your age, companies naturally take it into account. Japan has a long-standing new graduate hiring culture. For people in their early 20s, even without experience, companies often focus on personality and potential. Growth and attitude can matter more than past results. When I was hired as a new graduate, I had no experience and almost no specialized knowledge, but I still got a relatively technical position. It really shows how open Japanese companies can be to hiring and training young people. But once you reach your 30s, expectations begin to shift. Companies start looking for solid skills and a career track record. They want to know exactly what you can do and how soon you can contribute. This is connected to Japan's seniority system and the idea that age and responsibility should align. This shift can create opportunities for young people with little experience, but it can be challenging for older applicants without strong skills. Of course, this depends on the company, but it becomes harder to be evaluated at the salary level you hope for, and many people get screened out during the document stage. If you want to learn more about Japanese new graduate hiring, I talk about it in another video, so feel free to check that out. By the way, based on my own experience, I want to talk briefly about potential hiring in Japan. When I was job hunting as a new graduate, I had no internship experience, no real skills, and almost no knowledge of the field I applied for. I applied to around 5 companies. All but one rejected me during document screening. But that one company invited me to interviews and a written test called SPI, and for some reason, I passed and got hired. Of course, economic conditions and other factors matter. And today, more students prepare with internships or real experience. But even for someone like me back then, getting a job wasn't impossible. Another unique part of job changing in Japan is the strong agent culture. Most people register with a job-changing agent before applying. Agents introduce companies, schedule interviews, help you polish your resume and work history, and even negotiate salary or conditions on your behalf. They act as the middleman between companies and applicants, trying to find the best match. You usually talk to a few agents to find someone who suits you. And even though they provide a lot of support, applicants don't pay anything. Changing jobs while still working your current job can be tough, but with an agent, the process becomes more manageable. The only downside is that you need time for meeting and alignment with the agent, and then can add up. If you use the same agent for future job changes, the process tends to get smoother. I've also used agent before, but sometimes the companies they introduced didn't match what I wanted. So in the end, I applied directly on my own. Is using a job agent common in your country too? I'd love to hear about it. This may sound obvious, but in most cases, Japanese language ability is essential when looking for a job in Japan. Most communication, meetings, emails, documents, is done in Japanese. Without a certain level of Japanese, it becomes difficult to handle everyday tasks. Even if you speak English, lacking Japanese can make it hard to get hired. For roles that require reading and writing, Japanese is pretty much a requirement. At my company, there are coworkers from different countries, but they all seem comfortable using Japanese at work. Recently, some companies have adopted English as their internal language, and many international companies naturally use more English. So while Japanese isn't required everywhere, it's still needed in many workplaces. Today, I talked about 4 things that stand out when changing jobs in Japan. The large amount of personal information on resumes, how age affects evaluations, the major role of job agents, and the fact that Japanese language ability is usually required. Japan's work culture is becoming more diverse, and skill-based hiring is increasing. But traditional practices still remain, and I think many of them are interesting to compare with other countries. How does job changing work where you live? And which of the 4 points surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to share your own experiences, please feel free to leave a comment below. I always enjoy reading your messages and hearing your perspective. Your feedback really helps me improve, not just with my videos, but with my English too. See you next time.